What everyone wants to know is Bitcoin and crypto. You all have been actually very kind of forward thinking about this. I think spent a lot of time learning and doing some work on it. Maybe let's just start with, beginning of this year, we were sitting around $30,000. It basically doubled, talking about the Bitcoin price. And then it drew down about 50% back down to 30. And today we sit around $40,000. And it feels like there's multiple narratives, kind of around why that happened, what's driving the various price action there. But is there a framework or a model that you use, maybe not even just Bitcoin, but just the crypto industry in general, given that you really look at a macro outlay and an entire portfolio construction, first for people to understand, that perspective as to like, where does this fit in a portfolio today, in your all's opinion, or kind of how do you think about it as part of your business?
Well, so there's a lot to unpack, certainly, in terms of that. I mean, I'll just start with thoughts around the fact that these are the most volatile assets on the planet by far. And so to be engaged in cryptos in some way, shape, or form, you got to buckle up, right? It's high volatility regime on steroids. And so it comes with the territory. And so we're not at all surprised to see these massive fluctuations. I think a lot of the reasons for the fluctuations are pretty well known. We've seen a lot of job owning on Twitter. We've seen a lot of noise around regulatory headwinds, potentially here in the US and China and other places. But there's also been a lot of positive catalysts and innovation too. And so I think this is, at the end of the day, what happens when you're in the early innings of a newfound industry or newfound innovation cycle. And so we're not at all put off by it, even though, it certainly has been a wild ride just in a very short period of time. We're not necessarily recommending it as a formal part of a portfolio. We're still not entirely clear on how it shows up in a multi-asset class portfolio. That being said, we are really interested in the potential use cases of blockchain technology. And frankly, from an organizational perspective, how we can leverage blockchain technology across the ecosystem. So that's really kind of where we're interested in spending our time and thinking about kind of building out our capabilities. We certainly want to enable and work with our clients in terms of trading coins, custodying coins, like that goes with the territory in wanting to enable them to bring that into their multi-asset portfolio holdings. But I think it goes way beyond that. We're thinking about, what does tokenizing securities look like? What does treasury management need? And how can we leverage blockchain technology to kind of revamp or be more innovative around our solution set there? How do we think about payments, right? I think it's well understood, the traditional approach to payments in this country and through the financial system. But is there a way to revolutionize or innovate around payments to be more nimble and more innovative in that area? And so we're really thinking about it from an ecosystem, from a competitive landscape perspective. It's not just one and done in terms of a solution. It's not just putting one type of coin or one third-party strategy on the platform, and then we're going to call it a day. I think we really need to think about the innovation cycle that's being born out of it. And so that's what we're really excited about. That being said, there's a long runway for growth and innovation. And so we've been watching this very, very closely for a number of years now, but we're starting to get a lot more active in terms of thinking about the product and solution set that we really need going forward.
Yeah. One of the things that's fascinating to me is as you look at it holistically, it's almost now at the point where you're like, of course, we have clients that are going to want to buy this stuff, hold it, custody it, trade it. It doesn't feel like that was probably the thought process among many of your clients 2-3 years ago. And so any insights that you can provide in terms of just what's driven that? Is it literally, Paul Tudor Jones, Stanley Druckenmiller, Fidelity, you all, and a whole bunch of others that they consider to be the smart money, kind of saying, hey, look, this is real and we're going to participate? Or is there something else in the macro environment? Like what changes their mind in terms of now it almost being like a foregone conclusion that, of course, they're going to want to do this?
I think I guess the theme of our conversation today is innovation, because I keep going back to this concept of innovation. If you think about the last cycle pre-pandemic, right, there were pockets of innovation, but that really wasn't the theme, right? Just because I had a, clearer screen on my iPhone or a more powerful camera or something like that didn't really drive meaningful innovation and, frankly, productivity enhancing gains. That's why we think that growth in general over the course of that cycle was pretty slow and pretty sluggish. It wasn't that there weren't pockets of innovation. There absolutely were, especially in healthcare, a lot of advancements in there. But the innovation wasn't broad-based enough to really truly redefine growth over the last cycle. And so I think we're starved for innovation. And so I think investors in general are clamoring for, what is that next big thing? And how do I get in on the ground? And so the blockchain technology story, and frankly, even just cryptocurrency in general, is enabling investors to get in on the ground floor. Whereas I think there's a lot of, challenges for the average investor getting access to innovation through venture capital or private investments, things like that, where you really have to have a significant amount of capital to get involved. And so I think this has been an easier way for investors to start accessing what they would consider to be kind of the next big thing. And so this innovation cycle, this series of potential blockchain technology related use cases that are to come, things that we can't even think about necessarily today, I think is what's driving a lot of the interest on the part of investors. There's no question that having big institutional money take a very close look at this, the quote unquote smart money, is also helping. But I think at the root of it, it's more like, how do I gain access to the next big thing? Because all of the really cool big tech companies, that story hasn't played itself out fully, but that's already there and it's already really well known. And so I think there's this real interest for what is the new thing, what is the next thing, and what may come from it. If you think about Web 2.0 and 4G in terms of data infrastructure and wireless technology, those innovations really gave birth to things that we couldn't even fathom at the time, right? Uber, Lyft, and a whole host of other industries. And so as we're migrating to Web 3 and 5G and 6G, and certainly blockchain technology is in that same kind of spirit, I think it has the potential to support things in a more real way, like the Internet of Things, AI, et cetera. And so I think the excitement is, what are the creation of these new business models? What's going to be born out of this? And how do I get the earliest possible access? I think at the heart of it, that's really what's driving the interest. It's certainly what's getting us excited about it.